there is something quite extraordinary going on with ideas and knowledge and education. And it is that the internet has made it possible for many, many, many people to access some of the best teachers in the world. People like Ken Robinson, educator, or Caroline Porco, scientist at NASA, or Hans Rosling. Those who are familiar with TED.com certainly know him, social scientist from Sweden, or Jill Taylor, a neuroscientist. All people that if you had the chance to sit down with them for a coffee or a lunch, they'll probably inspire you and change the way you look at the world. All people that are great teachers, and so far, they only touched a few hundred people a year, their students, or maybe a few thousands, those who will read their scientific papers. And then suddenly, now, they are rock stars of global knowledge. Mostly, in this specific case, for these 4 people, because they came to TED, and they gave a fabulous talk, and we posted it on TED.com, and it just went viral. And they've been seen by millions of people. Each of them has had millions of people watching their talk. So think of it this way. Probably each one of us here in this room has met sometime during his or her school year a teacher that was so good, so compelling, so interesting, so passionate, that they made a difference in our lives. They inspired you to become a scientist, to read every possible history book, to go to art school, to engage in politics. One of those encounters that really defines a life and defines what you want to do with your life. And that's what happens with this kind of people. And now everyone can get access to them because of the power of the internet and because of a couple other things happening around it. So the organizer asked me to speak about 2 or 3 things that we do at TED that help spread ideas and how that works. Generally, for those who know TED, they know a couple of things. They know the conferences, TED in California, TED Global in Europe. Those are our 2 annual conferences. And this year, we had one in India as well, TED India, just 2 weeks ago. And they know the website. But TED is actually much broader than that. It is a whole platform for spreading ideas, made of other sites, social networks, a fellowship, a TED Prize, and of course TEDx, of which you're part tonight, plus a couple of other things, TED University, and so. And it's really about spreading ideas. It's not about TED. It's about those people you have seen there and many others and their ideas. And this concept that it's good to share ideas and to make them circulate, which is completely embodied in what happened here today. So I want to talk about 3 things. The first one is the TED Open Translation Project. If you went to the TED homepage back in February, you would find this page here. And it says, riveting talks by remarkable people free to the world. And the talks were there, and they were free, but they were not exactly to the world, because they were all only exclusively in English. So if you didn't speak English, too bad for you. Now, if you go to the same page, you find an additional line, which says, now available in, if I'm not mistaken, Arabic, German, Thai, Hindi, Thai, Russian, and more. And if you click on more, you get a list of 50-something languages. So now there are talks available on TED.com in all those languages, and in some cases, 300 or 400 talks in a specific language. They're subtitled. You go to a specific video, you find the menu, open it up, and subtitles start in English, in French, Arabic, Chinese, Persian, Italian, Dutch, of course, and in this specific case, another 23 or 24 languages. Not only you can click on the link up there and open a full transcript in that specific language, which allows you to scan the talk very fast, but also allows Google and other search engines to index it word by word. So it's really searchable at a higher level in many, many different languages. How do we do this? Well, we have more than 500 talks on the site. And when we started thinking about doing this translation project, we, of course, started looking at a professional approach. Let's hire translators in every language and do it. And then we made some calculation. 500 talks, 1 more per day. We want to reach as many languages as possible, maybe 100. That makes lots of millions of dollars. And we would never been able to finance that. So we just went to the community and said, well, why don't you help us do that? And it turns out that there are thousands of passionate people that love these talks and are started putting in the work to translate them. There are more than 2,000 translators, and there are thousands of talks already active in different languages on the site. People like these two here, Martin and Tamar, who translated this specific talk into Dutch. There are two because that's one of the mechanisms we put in place for making sure that the quality of the translation is good. The first mechanism is totally natural. They volunteer to translate a specific talk, so they choose one they like, and therefore they are naturally encouraged to translate it well. And when the translation comes, we send it to another translator of the same language to check. And if there are discrepancies, we work together with them to narrow them until they both sign off on the final version. If you click on their names, you go to their profiles on TED.com. There's a badge there saying I'm a TED translator, the list of everything they've done. Some translators have translated more than 100 talks since we started this, and we started in March. Okay. The second thing I wanted to mention is the TED Prize. Every year we give 3 prizes to 3 remarkable people. The idea is many of the things that are told at TED generate enough enthusiasm and passion for people to get behind them and wanted to turn them into action, into let's make it happen. Let's support this speaker and her project and her vision. And in this specific case, the TED Prize, we actually help them shape their project, and we organize the resources of the TED community, people in the room and people outside of the room, to make that happen. These are the 3 winners of this year. And just to give you an example of the kind of project they put on the table, this is Sylvia Earle. She's an oceanographer from the United States. She's the Capitaine Cousteau of the United States, in a way. And her wish, well, you can read it there, but basically she says, "Dear TEDsters, help me save the oceans." This is not a small project. It's certainly not a project that TED, a small organization, can take on and make happen. But the TED community is big. It's thousands and tens of thousands of people, and people that want to engage behind meaningful things, like this one. And indeed, many people lined up behind Sylvia and her project. We call them TED Wish, her wish to make something happen. And in the spring, you will hear a lot about her wish and what's happening around there. We are right now organizing and coordinating a lot of efforts around this oceans project. But these are the fresh ones, the ones that just were attributed this year. And in a couple of weeks, we will announce the winners of next year. Now, what happened with the TED Prizes once they get more advanced? Here are a couple of examples. James Natchery came to TED in 2008. He's a photographer, one of the best world photographers in the world, and said, well, there is a disease out there that's not covered enough by the media. And I would like you, TED community, to help me create an awareness campaign around the images I will make of that illness. And the illness is extreme drug-resistant tuberculosis, which is spreading very fast in different parts of the world, particularly countries that are not easy to access, and countries that don't have a very high level of healthcare systems. So he did create the pictures, take the pictures, and then many people in the community lined up behind him. People working in communication, advertising agencies, people managing the big screens in Piccadilly Circus and Times Square, and media directors. And there was, in October 2008, a big day campaign around this issue. And those pictures were actually spread all around the world on many, many different kinds of supports. And that happened right in the middle of the US presidential campaign. And both Obama and McCain at the time released a statement saying, the day I'm in the White House, we will do something about this. And indeed, the Obama administration is now working on this issue with more intensity than the previous administration. This is another example. Neil Turok, winner of the same year. He's a physicist, but in his spare time, he launched a school in Cape Town for mathematically gifted African kids called AIMS. Huge success story. They bring kids from all of Africa into a school, and they bring them up to the level where they can go to one of the best colleges. And his wish was, well, help me duplicate this model in a dozen other African countries. And one is already open in Abuja, and the 3 others are going online next year. So this is another wish that's coming to fruition thanks to the support of the TED community. So this is not only an idea that travels, that you spread, but an idea that actually turns into action, and things happen behind it. And this is a special wish. You've already heard the rabbi before talk a little bit about this. It's a charter for compassion. Karen Armstrong is a religious scholar. She came to TED when she won the prize in 2008, and she said, was written there, "Help me with the creation, launch, and propagation of a charter for compassion created by a group of leading inspirational thinkers of the three Abrahamic religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and built around the fundamental principle of justice and respect, so of compassion." Basically what she said is, instead of always looking at what divides us among religions, let's look at what is our common territory. And the common territory is the territory of don't do unto others what you don't want to be done unto you, or treat others the way you want to be treated, compassion. And around that, a big mobilization happened. And a group was indeed created called the Council of Conscience, where Rabbi Sotendorp was also a member, but many others. These are about half of the members of those groups. And you see the profile, the Grand Mufti of Cairo, Desmond Tutu, and others. And they worked as a group, and they also worked by bringing in input from all over the world. Thousands of people gave input to craft a charter for compassion, a document that starts like this. The principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual tradition. It's just a one-page, and I definitely invite you to go and read it, and maybe read it twice and see whether it inspires you as it has inspired many other people. So the charter was the result of 1 year of work of those people, plus thousands of others who have given input around the world, and it was released last week on the 12th of November. Including, by the way, in Amsterdam. There were events all around the world. You recognize there the person who claims to be the mayor of Amsterdam. They're on the top. But there were speeches and comedy and other events, and the charter was read here in Amsterdam as well as in other parts of the world on November 12 when it was launched. The charter is being affixed as a plaque in many different languages on walls, on religious venues all around the world. And you can go online and sign it, which we call affirm it. So add your signature on the bottom of it after having read it. If it inspires you, like these people here in the list have already done, you can go to that site and do so. I think about 20,000 people have already done so. And here is the charter.
The principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual traditions,
calling us always to treat all others as we wish to be treated ourselves.
Compassion impels us to work tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of our fellow creatures.
To dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and put another there.
To honor the inviolable sanctity of every single human being.
Treating everybody without exception.
With absolute justice, equity, and respect.
It is also necessary in both public and private life.
To refrain consistently and empathically from inflicting pain.
To act or speak violently out of spite, chauvinism, or self-interest.
To impoverish, exploit, or deny basic rights to anybody.
And to incite hatred by denigrating others, even our enemies.
Is a denial of our common humanity.
We acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately.
And that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion.
We therefore call upon all men and women
to restore compassion
to the center of morality and religion.
To return to the ancient principle
that any interpretation of Scripture
that breeds violence,
hatred,
or disdain
is illegitimate.
To ensure that youth are given accurate and respectful information
about other traditions, religions, and cultures.
To encourage a positive appreciation
of cultural and religious diversity.
To cultivate
an informed empathy
with the suffering of all human beings,
even those
regarded as enemies.
We urgently need to make compassion a clear, luminous, and dynamic force in our polarized world.
Rooted in a principled determination to transcend selfishness.
Compassion can break down political, dogmatic, ideological, and religious boundaries.
Born of our deep interdependence, compassion is essential for human relationships and to a fulfilled humanity.
It is the path to enlightenment and indispensable in the creation of a just economy and a peaceful global community.
Thank you. That applause is for Karen Armstrong and all the people who work on that. But you see the diversity of wishes that we tackle, from saving the oceans to creating schools in Africa to a big initiative like this that tries to influence culture and cultural understanding. So that's another way to make ideas travel, is line up resources behind them, organize them so that they can happen. And the third thing I wanted to mention is TEDx, of which you're part tonight. So TEDx was born from the idea, from actually a lot of requests we have received after we launched the TED website. Until 2005, TED was a conference. And in 2006, we started releasing the videos you all know on TED.com. And they really started traveling beyond our expectations. A lot of success. About 200 million videos have been seen so far on the site. And so many people started discovering TED that have never been at the conference and asking us, why don't you come and do a TED in Barcelona or in Kuala Lumpur? And of course, we are a tiny organization. We are like 40-something people, so we cannot multiply the number of conferences we do. And so we tried to figure out a way to basically answer, you can do it. You can do your own TED, like here today. And TEDx is the framework for that. We launched it in March. The team from Amsterdam here, Jim, Monique, and Marlene and the others, who have done a fabulous job, by the way. Yeah, indeed, yes. Indeed. Yeah, so they were among the first ones to ask for a license. And basically the idea is, if you want to do a TED event, a TED-like event, you ask for a license. The license is free. That's why you cannot charge for a ticket. But you can finance your event with sponsoring. And all you need to do is commit to stick to a few rules. And then you can do your own TED-like event. And you get the brand, TEDx, you get the videos that we have seen today, Alain de Botton and so on. You get a toolkit that explains a little bit how we do things and things like that. But we don't play any specific role into organizing TEDx's. It's really all the doing of the local team. And we thought, back in February when we launched it, this year we will have 20 of them, maybe 30. The most committed members of the community will want to do their own TED, and they will do it. And tonight, I think we are at the 240-something TEDx since March, all around the world, in places like Bucharest and Moscow and Ljubljana and Jakarta, or even further away, Sydney, Dubai, the US, of course, and so on. Some TEDx's were even organized by specific people. Like if you see there, the one with the blue faces at TEDx Blue, which was organized by the Blue Man Group, the entertainment show. They wanted their own TEDx, and they did their own TEDx. But there have been others that have been incredible. There's one today at NASA, and I think the people that will be there, because of time difference, they will be there in a few hours, they may be surprised by the fact that there will be a live speaker from the space station. There's been one for kids, TEDx Kids in Dallas. There's been a TEDx expedition in China where we were going from city to city and do several events over time. So the way these ideas traveled and the way people have embraced the concept that it's good to share ideas, because TEDx is all about that. It's about sharing ideas and the fact that it's good to share ideas freely has traveled really very, very far. And there are hundreds of them coming up in the next few months. Monday, by the way, Brussels, in the room of the European Parliament. And they traveled to places like Kibera. Mark before told us about growing up in a slum in Nairobi. This is the other slum of Nairobi. 1 million people live there. There is a church in the middle of Kibera, which is built exactly like those shacks that you see there. This is a view of Kibera from the window of the church, and this is what happened there 1 month ago. There was at TEDx. So a couple of people from Kibera and a development aid worker decided that they wanted to share some ideas. They invited this guy here and another. There were 2 young entrepreneurs from Nairobi to come and... There he is! Sorry, I didn't know you were here. Anyway. They gave a couple of speeches, they watched a couple of videos, 50 or 60 people showed up, and this is how far these ideas traveled in 7 months. So we go from being in this beautiful room in the middle of Europe, or at the European Parliament to being in a church in the middle of Kibera and everything in between all around the world. So when we, at the TED team, we see these kind of images, we are absolutely amazed and humbled by the fact that those 18 minutes when somebody shares an idea with passion and insight can really travel far and inspire people. Those teachers really become global teachers. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you very much.